Thank you so much for remaining with us and watching Smart 24 TV. My name is Anthony and you're watching The Point. The discussion in the room is our education sector and of course vis-a-vis the employment in of course the actual world where we send students. And I'm talking to Mr. Mulinga Patrick, who is a journalist and the chief executive of Youth Entrepreneurship Sparks, an initiative that he started to help young people, regardless of their education background, to be able to start their own jobs, to be able to have the entrepreneurial skills and get started in life. And I'm also talking to Dr. Nsamba Hussein, who is a lecturer at the College of Natural Sciences at Makerere University. He's also an entrepreneur and a head teacher, for that matter, as well of Invention Plus. So we are, of course, going to take down this line called unemployment through this discussion. But Doctor, you are still making a point on the elevator experience you're talking about back then when you were still studying. Maybe I'll let you do that. And then we want to address the issue of self-esteem, because I see self-esteem coming as a very key, I don't know if it's a skill or a spirit, which is lacking in the Ugandan student. That approach, when you meet a white student, they're so willing to know more about you, to know how they can help you and how you can help them for a collective goal. But our students here seem to be a little bit low on that end. So we want to address that. But Doctor, you can first wind up your discussion.
Thank you, Anthony. To summarize my communication, I wanted to say that the universities outside there are designed to give a student the complete package, such that when you move out of the university, you are not only competent in your area of specialization, but you are also versatile in several other fields, such that when you come outside the university, you can make a contribution. When I was interacting with Mr. Anthony, he told me how his colleagues were so good in class, academically brilliant, but someone does not have the curiosity, the enthusiasm, the vigor to come and express themselves towards someone they don't know. So as part of training, they used to give us those special trainings as part of the university program. For example, if I come to teach in the university, I might decide to concentrate on my core area of teaching and learning for the semester. And the learners will not, might not find other opportunities to find these other things which are relevant as part of the general program and arrangement. So more of the story is that the design of the training should come as early as childhood, because like Sembal has said that I'm a proprietor and a director of Invention Plus Group. When you are an employer in Uganda, you will identify something within the people that are being employed. And what is the problem? The problem that you observe from the people that you employ communicates a very generic problem as part of the training of the people who you consider to be trained anyway. You realize that the ethics, the etiquettes, the values, the characteristics, the teamwork, the motivation towards work is zero. For example, someone comes to look for a job when the primary objective is money. And it should be part of the training that it is not only the money that will earn you. I always tell it to the people that I employ. I tell you that all people in the world are looking for money. When we wake up very early in the morning, we are all looking for money. But we don't look at the money as the principal objective. But when we do things that bring the money, money ends up coming by right or by design. But you realize that because of the lab, for example, like primary living examinations came out yesterday, and so many institutions are celebrating because they made learners excel. But this is something that has been there for years, and we are still here crying foul because we are creating people who are unemployed. And these are the people who are passing through the system that we are celebrating today. So the question is, if we are celebrating with too much pride about the people who excel in primary, O level, and other levels. Why do we still find these ones are the problems? Secondly, when shall we begin training the people that jobs are there? When shall we begin telling people that instead of, I always tell people that, for example, like one of the challenges we are facing nowadays is the youth who go outside there in the Middle East, who are enslaved in the labor of working, thinking that they are working.
And when more graduates are now
yes,
going out.
because someone is in their youthful year, they think that going to work for that period of time is the best thing they can do. And you realize that someone spends a valuable time of their youthful age in that labor of working, and the mind continues to be enslaved with little or no mental growth. What is the moral of the story here? The moral of the story here is that we need to unlock our levels of thinking at a very early age. And the institutions that we go through during our processes of learning should help to nurture the learners, to give them the complete package alongside the conventional and the traditional learning, such that when we come outside of the university, when we graduate, say for example, at the very minimum, we can identify problems. Let me just give you a conclusive example, and then we can go to something else. When I just gave this one as an example at one time, I wanted to see if the formula works. And during that time, it was in 2017 when I said that I want to show the world that we still have so many jobs, but we just have to be creative, innovative, and improve on the way how things are done. At Invention Plus Group, one of the things that we do as a service is metal fabrication, that is welding and fabrication. In our Uganda of today, this is a job which has been poorly done, and it has been done by people who are considered to be less trained. I looked at it as a problem from my own world. But I said, if this is something that is the problem, I realized that these people who are usual, because these people who are doing it have little or no integrity in the job. They don't have fear in doing the wrong thing for as long as it favors their interest. How about if we improve on the way this thing is doing? As I speak now, the welding and fabrication industry at Invention Plus Group has helped Ugandans across from north to south, from east to west. We are busy from January to December. A sign that jobs are there.
Yes.
But how innovative and creative are we? For example, let me give you another very basic example. When you move outside here, I challenge you to find any graduate who can do a Rolex business. I'm just giving you an example. When you go in one day there,
Yes.
the population of people who can feed on the Rolex is very enormous.
Yes.
But you can hardly find a graduate. I was reading a story a few days ago where a professor went in a restaurant and just to say friend. And when he went in a restaurant, he found that the workers at the time had not come. And because the customers were coming, this professor asked his colleague that, I'm going to stand in and help you for the day. So when the professor was assisting, his former students came.
Yes.
And when they came, they found the professor very busy helping, out.
Yes.
But the students, little did they know that the professor is assisting his colleague when he's staffer.
So they thought he was demoted.
So they couldn't believe it. They were looking at it with a lot of naivety.
Yes.
And that was mindset.
That is a mindset, yes.
So how we look at jobs and how we value them is people only just think that we must put on ties, we must,
It's a white collar mindset.
But when you go to the ATM, it doesn't ask you which job you do. The ATM doesn't they ask,
Yes.
which jobs do you do?
Yes.
It just expresses what is there.
What is your level of education?
So I want to assure you that there are so many jobs you can do in this country, you cannot finish them.
Yes.
Wow.
For me, I can assure you that the 24 hours in a day are not enough on my side.
Oh my God.
And I continue to see so many opportunities day in, day out.
But
So
you don't have enough time.
I don't have enough time. So this is just a very small fraction of the so many good things that you can do to improve our. Because no matter how often we challenge the government doesn't have jobs, I must assure you.
Yes.
The government depends on entrepreneurs who create jobs,
Yes.
who pay taxes to sustain,
Employ young people.
to employ young people, to sustain the rest of the departments. So, no matter how often and much we demand the government to create jobs for us, it will not sustain it because it doesn't have them.
Cannot.
Thank you, Doctor.
It
Thank you
cannot.
for that submission, and those are wonderful insights. I think today shouldn't have won the next. Well, the other problem now we want to address is the teacher-student problem. Teachers out there, I saw now art teachers joining the strike.
Yes,
the strike
of,
now of pay, right?
salary increment.
Salary increment. So because they raised the salary
For the science teachers.
and this is the battle, really, where everyone is. Where can I gain? How am I, improving my livelihood? Which is not a bad thing because everyone wants the best for themselves. But where should the focus be, Mr. Mulindwa, for the teacher of the 21st century, starting from the primary, nursery teachers? Because I've had an argument from many successful people like Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, and so on, that they make a student in the first 7 years.
Yes.
Like the attitude, the self-esteem comes in those initial years where we don't pay much attention. Today, you find anyone teaching kids anything. So long as you can be able to stand before them and maybe play around with them, you're qualified to teach them. But what are those skills that also the teachers, the lecturers need from all levels? As well now, what should the student approach be? What should the student's mindset look like for the 21st century?
Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone is a teacher and you're watching. Mine is an appreciation that goes to you because when a teacher is teaching, it's like being a doctor. The whole family is a doctor and the whole family is a teacher. So we want to appreciate you. And we know that teachers do not actually get their equal reward. Because when I remember my teachers in specifically in high school, where I believe I was really very mad, and primary, they didn't live the best lives that if I could remember. I had this one teacher who used to teach us mathematics, and he was sleeping in a single room, and he had 4 kids, and he was a wonderful mathematics teacher. So I believe that they do not live in the very best conditions that they would love or aspire for. But again, when we are having these discussions, we are sending the mantle back to you, teachers. And mine is a simple, humble request that what you do is of a higher impact than anything. Therefore, you're either working closely with God, just like doctors do, because you're modeling people. Imagine COVID. If we did not have scientists who would actually think through all these isolations and lockdowns were not just structural or community isolations as they would be, like a traffic jam or whatever, but they are scientifically proven that if they are employed, then they would help us survive. If you see countries that lost so many people. So the level and quality of education we get is very, very important in giving us an assurance that tomorrow is for us, and now talking to parents, that today is yours, tomorrow is for your children, and the future is for your grandchildren. That is the only assurance that you can have in the education you're giving your children now. It's a partnership between those who are providing the education, both public and private, and the parent who is financing the process. There's more data that shows that we need to rethink learning, like remodeling a house. We are not just adding a new color code, like painting or updating outdated parts like doors or making some strengthening of the metallic bars. But we want to find something that can actually work. Gone are the days when education existed just to have a few students who are brilliant and they can pass. And then those who are not academically gifted, then they fail or excel. Gone are the days. The education today expect that every learner comes out successful.
Yeah, with their own potential.
Exactly. And especially those who are kind of like excluded from the opportunities that education provides, especially those kids who live in the villages, where there's no electricity, and when it rains, the teacher just couldn't come to school because they couldn't walk here. I mean, they could pay for a taxi, but there's barely no taxi in the villages to see school. That's when we come to student-centered learning. And I want the learners to understand this, so don't switch off because you are not a teacher. This is so much about you. And that is the system that government is trying to, what I would call it, is marinate, because it's tagging along. It needed an overhauling. But possibly we all know that if you basically know that most of overhauling is very expensive.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen anything called overhauling. It means, even I think the country, Qatar, that hosted the World Cup is not thinking about overhauling the stadiums that were used temporarily for World Cup. There were structures that were assembled and they are going to be used to form hotels and all that. But student-centered learning, it incorporates student skills, interests in their learning process, making the experience more personal and involving the student in his or her own future. That is discovering. What we are doing at Youth Entrepreneurship Spark, the whole of around December and November, we were talking to parents that before these learners who have just sat for Senior 4 and Senior 6 continue or go anywhere, let's have a conversation, because things have changed. What makes the system of student-centered learning work? Number one, learning is personalized. Personalized learning happens when teachers know students, have strong relationships with them and meet students where they are in their development. Yeah. I'm now talking to the teacher. You're not just a teacher. You're molding with clay that which will shock absorb our country, our nation in the future. Especially when nations and communities and societies are faced with crossroads like COVID-19. It will be your product that will stand in the middle. And you will be old, like Professor will be. Then Anthony will be the lead, either virologist or anything. And then Professor Samba will be on the TV. And then Anthony is talking that this is our national strategy and approach on how we are going to deal with whichever will be the pandemic to come. Because then the doctors now, who are the front line fighting COVID-19, they were students.
Yeah.
And their teachers are still there. So teachers, are you proud of how the doctors, the Dr. Luther Chans of his country, the other doctors, the frontline doctors, the nurses, are you proud on how they handled? If you are proud, then that has a lot to do of how you prepare your learners. Yeah. Number two, student-centered learning is competence-based. Learning is about information and skills as a student masters them, not just moving through a curriculum.
When you talk about competence, what do you mean? Because now some people, I am imagining, might misperceive this. When
Okay.
they're saying what competence means is, for example, the grades, are they the grades?
No.
Or the individual potential?
Thank you so much. They're not just about the information you give and the curriculum, that I'm just completing the curriculum, but it's so much about the skills and the competencies. Let me talk about the course or the sector that I'm so much affiliated to, which is journalism. If you are a student who is doing anything around journalism and you don't know how to operate a camera, not the old cameras that are no longer on market, that use VHS tape and mini DV. We are talking about digital. We are talking about cards. If you don't know how to operate that camera and you are a graduate You did not study. You did not go to school. You just attended class. If you are a journalism student and you are graduated, I don't know whether in a university or a tertiary or an institution, and you do not know how to ably create videos, create graphics, and then you don't know how to write convincingly. That's what I talked about earlier in the beginning of the show. You did not go to school, you just attended a class. If you are a journalism student and you do not know what they call new media, which is social media, and the power it's got, then you did not go to school. And the last one, if you are a journalism student and you don't know the importance of our sector, that it is what drives the whole economies in the world, especially in the 21st century, which is driven by information, you need to come and look for Youth Entrepreneurship Spark. Then we make you relevant, because you are so irrelevant with your certificate. A job is not coming very near to you. Therefore, those that make student-based centered learning a very important approach. In a competence-based system, students can proceed at their own pace at every subject, enabling pace in every subject. The teacher responds to individual needs and interests and challenges.
Do you believe we are gifted differently?
Oh yes.
Classwork.
Oh yes. Every learner has got a way they learn. There are those who learn when professor starts talking. There are those who don't even like professor when he comes. They say when professor comes and gives out a transcript, as in the notes, it's much better if he doesn't talk. That man reminds me of my father, who I hate. They don't like the teacher. And that is psychological. You cannot outdo it. You are losing that learner. So, we are gifted differently. We learn and capture and grasp knowledge at different levels because our energies are not the same. So teachers, number one, must find an extra time to understand the students they have. I remember my math teacher. I will never forget her. I don't hate her. She told me mathematics is not your thing. And I did physics, economics, and mathematics. I was in senior 2. So teachers, when you say statements, they stay for long. They stay for long in this young mind. So teachers must have a relationship. I know that is a heavy job because you have a class of 100.
100 people.
Yes, that is why parents must come in. Stop just paying the school fees and you're like, fetumaze biwedde kakati tulinze results.
Right now, tunonya fees.
Kakati tunonya fees. Mbega iridde abazadde. Because parents are at a crossroad. I've met a number of them. Omwana yamala okusoma ali waka. Yamala degree. Ne bamutwalako mu kikuubo. Kati mu kikuubo eyo waliyo entala abaasoma lwaki muli eno. You would have been doing better. And the game is, I'll come then when I'm talking to the learners. The game is, the learned ones, the educated ones are meant to do the traditional businesses much more sustainable and with inclusion, and then it's kind of like accelerate the businesses to survive to the new opportunities. And that is where the battle is. So if your parent has been in Chikubo, getting all these things, they don't have a database of their clients, the clients still come to Chikubo with all that traffic jam, and your parents have never thought about having a delivery system. It's higher time that you actually start thinking about that. Then how to get the orders digitally, a lot of stuff. Now, the last one, number 4, about student-centered learning. Learning happens anytime, anywhere. Prof talked about this. Students often make important discoveries about themselves and the world around them when they learn beyond the traditional school day and outside the traditional school worlds. Teachers, my plea is that you do not discredit. In those first weeks when the students are back to school, can you ask for their experiences? Most of them are likely to have discovered what is going to be their life forever in the moment they get to listen to this show. And then you are there discrediting. And they want to tell you, teacher, by the way, they said that me and you should have a relationship, talking more, you should listen to me.
Yeah.
I watched it on TV. And then you say, excuse me, is that how you talk to teachers? Who said that is even possible? So, learning does not start and end when the bell rings. That is outdated. And I'll finish with this for just the teachers. An author who lived the days before I was born, called Alvin Toffler, he said that the educated of the 21st century, the illiterate of the 21st century, will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. Dear countrymen, young people, parents and guardians, things changed after COVID. It was intentional, if I say this. It was intended that things change. A number of you did not change. And you're still loyal, passionately, deep-rooted, attached to the past. But things have actually changed.
We moved on.
The world has moved on.
Okay,
so I don't know whether you moved with it.
Yes.
But it moved.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mulinga, for that submission. We're taking our last break, and we return with our final session. And in this one, we want to talk about the learners, but also the content we are giving to students. I mean, when I was in senior one, I was doing over about 17 or 18 subjects. And even in the new curriculum, I expected something different. Yes, they cut a few subjects out, but there's still a lot of information that students are being pumped with. And when you go into the curriculum of the different other countries that have developed,
yes,
they have a very brief school time. I mean, school time is from probably 8 to 1 p.m. And then the rest of the time, like you said, is spent outside the classroom, solving problems, going out for games and, talent-based kind of education and so on. So we can also talk about that. But also, we don't want to leave here before talking about entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Being entrepreneurs,
yes,
and young people out there are now, so much fascinated by entrepreneurship.
Making money.
What can they do and what skills do they need to get into that space? My name is Anthony. We are taking our last break. Don't go anywhere.
Smart 24, driving business.